Good day, everyone. Now, we will be talking about the last and the current constitution, which is the 1987 Philippine Constitution. So, after the 1986 People Power Revolution, the former President Corazon Aquino wanted to remove the 1973 Constitution because it was associated with the dictatorship of Ferdinand Marcos. So she had three options way back then. So the first one is to return to the 1935 Constitution. So this option meant reviving the Constitution used during the Commonwealth period and the early years of the Republic. So it was seen as a more democratic framework compared to the 1973 Constitution. But it was also outdated and not fully suited for the present challenges of the time. So the second option was reform and continue the 1973 Constitution. So this would involve keeping the 1973 Constitution but making amendments to remove the parts that allowed abuse of power, like the provisions that gave the president too much control during martial law. However, this option was rejected because many believed that the document was too damaged by its association with dictatorship. So lastly, the last option, which was to create a new constitution. So this was the path the President Aquino chose. So it meant starting fresh by drafting a completely new constitution that reflected the Filipino people's desire for democracy, human rights, and good governance. So while the new constitution was being written, the 1986 Freedom Constitution served as a temporary legal framework for the country. So those are the different options that President Aquino considered. So in March 1986, when the former President Corazon Aquino took office, she knew that the country couldn't continue under the old 1973 Constitution, which had supported a Marcos authoritarian rule. But writing a brand new constitution would also take time. So to keep the government running legally, while a permanent constitution was being drafted, President Aquino issued a presidential decree creating a transitional constitution called the Freedom Constitution. So this temporary constitution gave her the authority to govern and introduce reforms while the country waited for a new democratic constitution. So later on, Aquino appointed 48 members from different sectors to form a constitutional commission. So their job was to draft a new and permanent constitution that would restore democracy and remove the abuses of the martial law. So this constitution was completed and ratified by the people on February 2, 1987, and it is what we know now as the 1987 Philippine Constitution. So this constitution became the foundation of our current government and protects our rights and freedom. Now, let's talk about the feature of the 1987 Constitution. So the 1987 Philippine Constitution is the basic law that governs the country today. So it starts with a preamble that outlines the nation's values like democracy, justice, and equality. So the Constitution defines the Philippines as a democratic republic, meaning the people hold the power and elected leaders will represent them. So it also sets up the government with three branches, namely the executive, legislative, and judiciary. So the executive branch headed by the president who enforces the law, while the legislative it is made up of the Senate and the House of Representatives which create laws. And lastly, the judiciary branch is led by the Supreme Court, which interprets law and ensures justice. Now, let's go over with the different branches one by one. So the first government branch is the executive branch, which is headed by the president, who is both the leader of the country and the chief executor of laws. So the president appoints a team called the cabinet to help run the government. While the president holds a significant power, it's limited by the Constitution. So, for example, in emergencies, the president can declare martial law, but it can only last for 60 days unless the Congress approves an extension. So, this keeps the president's power in check and protects the people's rights. So, moving forward, the Congress has also the power to either revoke or extend martial law if the president declares it. However, the Supreme Court can also review the declaration to ensure that it is justified. Additionally, in the executive branch, the president and the vice president are both elected by direct vote, and each serves a single 6-year term, and they cannot be re-elected. So this system is designed to limit their time in power and prevent abuse. So now, let's talk about the legislative branch. So the legislative branch of the Philippine government is called Congress, and it has two parts, the Senate and the House of Representatives. So the Senate has 24 senators who are elected by the entire country through popular vote. So each senator can serve a maximum of 2 consecutive 6-year terms. Meanwhile, the House of Representatives is made up mostly of district representatives. So these are people elected to represent specific areas or provinces. Moreover, they make up about 80% of the House, and the other 20% comes from party list representatives. So these are people who speak for marginalized or underrepresented groups. So to understand it further, let's talk about the party list system. So one important feature of the Congress is the party list system. So this gives a voice to underrepresented sectors like farmers, laborers, women, and indigenous groups. So through the party list, so these groups can have representatives in the House and take part in creating laws that address their needs. So another power of Congress is that it can declare war, but this requires a 2/3 vote from both the Senate and the House. So it's not a decision made lightly. Additionally, in the legislative branch, there is also a system of checks and balances between the Congress and the President. So while Congress makes the laws, the President can veto or reject a bill. So when we say veto, it is when the President refuses to approve a bill that the Congress has passed, stopping it from becoming a law. However, if Congress really believes in that bill, so they can override the President's veto, again, with a 2/3 vote in both houses. So if that happens, the bill becomes law even without the President's approval. So that's it for the legislative branch. So now let's talk about the judiciary branch under the 1987 Philippine Constitution. So at the top is the Supreme Court, which is made up of 15 justices, including the Chief Justice. So these justices are appointed by the President, and unlike other appointments, they don't need to be confirmed by the Congress. So to ensure that only qualified individuals are chosen, the Judicial and Bar Council submits a list of nominees. So the President then selects from this list when appointing justices. Moreover, the main role of the Supreme Court is to interpret the law and ensures that all laws, treaties, and executive orders follow the Constitution. So, if there's a question about whether a law is constitutional, the court has the power to review and even nullify it. Moving on, let's also tackle the roles of the Supreme Court Justice, who are the highest judges in the country. So they play a key role in reviewing cases that challenge the constitutionality of laws, treaties, or government actions. So they also handle cases involving serious legal errors or when the penalties are particularly severe. So justices have the power to directly hear certain cases, especially those involving government officials or international matters. Additionally, they are responsible for overseeing the operations of lower courts and ensuring that their judges and personnel are following the law. So, in short, the judiciary branch makes sure that both the government and the laws respect the Constitution and protect the rights of the people. So, those are the different government branches under the 1987 Constitution. Now, let's discuss the three independent constitutional commissions the Constitution created. So, the 1987 Constitution created three independent constitutional commissions to help ensure that the government operates transparently, efficiently, and fairly. So, the first commission is the Civil Service Commission. So, this commission is responsible for managing the public service sector, ensuring that government employees are hired and promoted based on merit, qualifications, and competence, not on political connections or favoritism. So, it plays a crucial role in maintaining professionalism within the government, overseeing recruitment, training, and ethical standards of civil servants. So the next commission is the Commission on Elections, or also known as the COMELEC. So the COMELEC is tasked with administering and enforcing election laws and regulations. So it oversees the conduct of elections, ensuring that they are fair, transparent, and free from fraud. So it also handles a voter registration, the preparation of ballots, and the announcement of election results. So the COMELEC is crucial for upholding the integrity of the democratic process by ensuring that every vote counts and that all political parties are given a fair opportunity. So the last is the Commission on Audit, or the COA. So the Commission on Audit is the government body responsible for auditing all government transactions and expenditures. So it examines the financial records of all government agencies, ensuring that public funds are used properly and efficiently. So the COA helps prevent corruption by providing transparency in government spending and making sure that taxpayers' money is accounted for. So the commission is also works to identify financial mismanagement or wasteful practices within the government. So those are the three commissions that are designed to be independent of the executive, legislative, and judicial branches, ensuring that they can function without political interference. So together, they help promote accountability, transparency, and good governance in the Philippine government. So that ends my part, and I hope you learned something, and thank you so much for listening.